Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back at the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, first things first, we got a few more days. Just a few more days, and the lottery is still open for a few more days, few more days, few more days. Are we getting the drift here? A few more days. Anyway, we've got 3 more days until the lottery closes for the 2024 TCS New York City Marathon. If you wanted to get your name in, you better do it now. Don't hesitate. Run, don't walk, and get yourself registered. We record, and hopefully you hear this on Monday, the 18th of March. Yes, if you can believe it, we are already halfway through March. And then on the 21st, March 21st, is when the window closes for the New York City Marathon. Ballots to be released in a week from Thursday on the 28th of March. So already we are so very close to figuring out who is going to New York and who is not. Fingers crossed for everyone who has put their name in for this race. Again, huge, wonderful, amazing experience. I hope we all get to go enjoy in November. Oh my gosh, November. We're already talking about November races. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, here this weekend in Kansas City, just one piddly little 5K, if you can believe that. Just one race that was run this weekend. That was the St. Patrick's Day 5K. I am conflicted with this race, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, unfortunately. According to the official time of the race, I ran a 5K PR. Woohoo! 29 minutes and 26 seconds. Now, to be fair, I knew I was hoofing at that race. I was going as fast as my little legs would carry me. Reason being, and people are waiting for this, I took one of the back of the packettes out for that race. My 14-year-old back of the packette, the little soccer star, the little athletic wonder that she is, although she has not run a race, we determined in about a year and a half. But she will be the first to tell you that she owns the household record for best 5K time. Her best 5K was somewhere in the range of 27 minutes, seconds. So she has the household record for the 5K. That's great. She also hasn't run in a while, and her soccer season is just now starting to ramp up as she made one of her high school soccer teams. Super great. But she does talk a lot of trash for a person who's not run in a while, and her father runs fairly frequently. So when we went to the race on Saturday, I wanted to demolish her. I wanted to crush her. I wanted to grind her up into little bitty 14-year-old powder and then go and blow it off into the air for it to be spread everywhere because I wanted to destroy that child for all the crap that she talks about her poor father. And I did. And I did. See, unfortunately, running a 5K is not like riding a bike. You can forget and you can kind of lose the skill levels that you might have once previously had. And you can get demolished by 11 minutes by your twice open heart surgery operated on old man. So, 14-year-old back of the packet daughter of mine, I whooped you. I demolished you. And I ran a PR. Now, the reason it's a problem with this race always measures short. So I'm having a really hard time acknowledging this as a new PR because my watch, okay, I've got the Apple Plus and I use Strava on my watch. It came in at like 2.94. Not the 3.10 you want for a 5K. I came in at like 2.94, maybe 2.96 now that I'm throwing out numbers. Anyway, measured really short. A lot of people in the race also measured short. A few people measured accurate, but I think it might have been a little short. Either which way, I demolished my 14-year-old. I got a new PR-ish. I will at least recognize it as, hey, I ran a really good race. Great to see a lot of the people out there. A lot of the Back of the Pack podcast fans were there and just local running community, people I know and love. Good to see everybody out there. Nice little morning. Took the rest of the weekend to kind of just chillax for yours truly. Reason being, this past weekend with the 5K was a break. Now we get into the meat of the matter of spring running season. I just want to go through, and I know we've done the 2024 preview. I'm just going to go through like the next 2 months of races, really just to determine that I am actually insane And it's the things that I do for you all. It's the things I do for all you wonderful podcast listeners. And I want to be able to do all the races and see all your smiling faces and tell you all about it on the podcast. And I'm no poser. If I'm going to talk about running races, I'm going to be out running races. And then I look at my calendar and realize I may not make it to this particular finish line because boy, howdy, I might have bitten off a little bit more than we could chew. Anyway, next week, we'll be in Liberty, Missouri for the Liberty Half Marathon. We've talked about that. We've had them on the show. Can't wait for the race. Have a booth out there. I'll be at the expo. I want to see you Friday before the race so you can get your packet. You can get the Liberty stuff, and then you can drop by the Back of the Pack podcast table. We will see you Friday, the 22nd of March, and we'll see you there. Yes, see you at the table. Then we're going to run Liberty Half Saturday morning. After that, I'm going to take things down a little bit. Running a 10K on Easter weekend. Again, we only can run on Saturday. No running races on Easter Sunday. So the Easter egg 10K, we will be at that. After that, Rock the Parkway. So everyone here in Kansas City knows Rock the Parkway is one of our biggest half marathons of the year. It has the most people, normally around 5,000 half marathon participants, and then whatever shows up for the 5K. And it is kind of one of the big ones here around town. That is the first race in the Heartland 39.3 series, which is 3 half marathons over the course of 2 months. Okay, so one that we're mostly familiar with. So that is where we're at now. We're at half marathon, 10K, half marathon. After Rock the Parkway, I'm on the road. So hopefully we'll see some of you good folks in South Carolina. So the podcast is heading to South Carolina for the Too Slow for Boston Marathon. I can't wait. That is going to be on Sunday, April 14th, the Too Slow for Boston full marathon in Greer, South Carolina. So I am going to there. I am super excited. Again, this is the race where there is no time limit. They want runners of any and all skill levels to come complete a full marathon. Again, no time limit. So if you think it would take you more than 8 hours to walk a full marathon, this is your race. The winner of the race is the last place finisher. That is who wins the prize money. Now they have it set up so that people cannot abuse this system. I love the beauty of this system. Someone who will never words are awesome. Someone who may never get a full marathon, even if they went to Little Rock with the 8 hours and the 2 hour head start, even if that is not achievable, they have the Too Slow for Boston Marathon where they will not shut it down until everybody is done. I love it. I'm in for it. So I am going for the full marathon. I'm going to go. I'm going to run. And this is where a lot of people are like, whoa. And even myself in my head, I'm like, whoa, this is nuts. It's only a 1.3 mile loop. And you just do it over and over and over again until you get the people who are doing the half marathon, until you get your 13.1. For the full, the 26.2, they said it's about 20 laps. You do about 20 laps of this 1.3 equals out to the 26.2 roughly. They definitely tell you go by what your watch is saying. And you just around and around you go. While I can see this could end up being kind of a boring thing, like you could get bored, I'm excited though because there's always support. Like I'm gonna go and set up a chair and a cooler and have like basically my own little table right there. You can kind of have your own self-support. So on the next lap around, if I need something, I got my stuff right there. Another lap around, got something right there. I hope to find people to talk to. I hope to meet a lot of folks. I'm in no hurry. This is not going to be a PR because who cares if I take 7 hours? I don't care. Again, my best marathon ever is 5:45-ish. I'll take 7. It doesn't matter. We're out there for the experience on this one. Yes, we will get a full marathon. Yes, we'll be credited with having South Carolina completed, and that's all super great. But I'm going just for the experience of this. I've exchanged messages over social media with these folks a little bit. They all seem like super great people. They really kind of get this. They get the whole idea of a back of the pack and just the people who want to finish and say they've done something, even though they may not be at the most elite level. I love it. I'm here for it. I can't wait to go. So, okay, half marathon, 10K, half marathon, full marathon. We come back for race number 2 in the Heartland 39.3 series, which is the Garmin Land of Oz half marathon. So even a lot of people, as I found, who are not very familiar with the Kansas City running area, a lot of them have heard of this race. Because if you want all 50 states, you have to do a marathon in Kansas a lot of people have chosen the Garmin Land of Oz full marathon as their Kansas marathon. Cool. I'll be doing the half marathon to continue on with the 39.3 series. Always a fun event. A lot of Wizard of Oz themed dress up in that because it is the Land of Oz marathon. So that's super fun. Second race in the series, and that's going to be 6 days after a full marathon. We'll see if my knees can make it. Here's hoping. After that, okay, here we go. We're keeping track again. Half marathon, 10K, half, full, half. Then we move on to the Top City half marathon in Topeka, Kansas. They've been on the podcast before. Good friends of the show. Can't wait to go down and do Top City. Beautiful race. Love that race. Had such a wonderful time with it last year. Can't wait to do it again this year. Their medals are great. The weather was great. The course was beautiful. It's a really fun race. Not the most difficult half marathon you've ever done. A lot of nice little downhill for you. So we've got Top City. The day after Top City is one I've told you about before. This is the Get Your Rear in Gear 5K. So yes, going back to back, half marathon 5K, doing this for a friend who we lost to colon cancer. And with all the talk in the Kansas City running community of people who have had to fight cancer, no brainer for me to make it out and do this race. Yeah, will I be fast? Probably not. It's a day after a half marathon, and it comes after all these other races I've done. I imagine the legs will be pretty tired, but we're going to go and we're going to get that race done anyway on April 28th up by the airport here in Kansas City, up in Zona Rosa. So that's a good one there. So, all right, half marathon, let's see, half marathon, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, half marathon, 5K. Next weekend, the first one in May, the Lincoln Half Marathon up in Lincoln, Nebraska is where the podcast will be heading next. Doing this so that we can do what they call the Capital City Challenge. If you haven't heard of this, the Capital City Challenge is 2 races in Lincoln, Nebraska. It is the Lincoln Half Marathon in May. It is the Good Life Halvesy in the fall, which is October 27th up in Lincoln, Nebraska. You do both of those, you get a nice big Capital City medal. It actually is a really cool looking medal. I ran the Good Life Halvesy last year. I saw a lot of people walking around with all these medals, and I only had my one for the Good Life Halvesy. I was thinking, man, how do I get these other medals? I want these other medals because I like medals. This is how you do it. You do both races. Lincoln, Good Life. Done. That is your capital city. After that, then we have the Running with the Cows half marathon. If you are outside of the Kansas City area, you have not experienced Running with the Cows. Running with the Cows is a race that takes place in Bucyrus, Kansas, which even for us here in Kansas City, Bucyrus is getting close to the middle of nowhere. Not a bad drive, though. They have a half marathon and they have a 5K. The thing that always happens with the cows every time, we always will have a cold snap, like the week or two leading up to it. But the week of the cows, we could have a frost advisory Tuesday morning, and then we're going to hit 90-degree heat index on the day of that race. That is the race where you've never had a chance to train in the heat before the heat arrives. It's just always bam, there's the heat on the day of Running with the Cows, and bam, there's runners dropping like flies because it is so hot and so humid. And that course is out in the prairie, out in the farmlands, not a lot of shade, actually no shade for about the last half of that race. It gets us every year. So if you ever want to know when the heat is going to officially hit Kansas City, look up Running with the Cows half marathon and just know that it's going to be that week. All right, so here we go again. Half marathon, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, 5K, half marathon. Then I'm going to take a week off. So the midweek in May, I actually have a weekend off. Cat out of the bag. I am going to get a running coach certification that weekend. So I am in class all that weekend. I just thought it would be something that could help. Maybe we'll find some stuff to talk about on the podcast with it. I can give you guys a little more guided inputs if anyone has any questions. I'm doing this for me because I think it will be cool, and that's why I'm going to do it. So mid-May, I'm unavailable that weekend because I will be getting a running coach certification that weekend. So after the weekend off, then it is Memorial Day weekend. We go to Manhattan, Kansas for our second year in the row of doing the Bill Snyder Memorial Highway Half Marathon. Or no, just Bill Snyder Highway Half Marathon. Sorry, not Memorial. Bill's fine. He's fine. That's my fault. I misspoke. Bill's cool. So that is a fun race in Manhattan, Kansas. Great half marathon. It is still my PR for a half marathon. I got it last year. It's there's definitely some hill aspect to it, but I think there was a lot more downhill than uphill. And then you actually run through the campus of K-State University. So if you're a K-State fan at all, that was really cool. And then you will finish inside the Gigantor football stadium that K-State plays their football games in. So it was a really cool experience. Glad I did it. And even though, like an idiot last year, I'm jogging along and there's this big statue of Bill Snyder in front of the stadium. And again, the finish line is just right around the corner. I wanted to stop and get a picture taken with the statue, not realizing how close I was to a PR. So once I looked down and realized that after the picture, man, I just dead sprinted to the finish line and I was able to make a PR. It was closer than it should have been, but that's my fault because I stopped to take a picture, stopped to smell the roses, if you will. After Bill Snyder, we go up to Fargo, North Dakota for the Fargo Full Marathon. There's a whole group of Kansas Cityans that are heading up there. I hope we can meet a lot of you listeners in Fargo, North Dakota. It is going to be a really fun trip. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard the course is pretty beautiful, very flat. I'm good with that. So we're going to get a full marathon taken care of up in Fargo, and it should be a really fun time. Excited for that. Just road tripping up and road tripping back. It doesn't sound like it's too bad of a drive either. So that's always good. Any chance I can save some money. After that, we come back and we are in still the early stages of June. Another weekend off. Mrs. Back of the Pack podcast told me that the second weekend in June, I can't run a race. She already has plans for us for something or another. So, okay. Then after that, we had the Clinton Historic Half Marathon in Clinton, Missouri. And after that, which is June 15th, that kind of wraps up the spring running season. And one last time, half marathon, 10K, half marathon, marathon, half marathon, 5K, half marathon, full marathon, half marathon. I'm ridiculous. The things I do. So I wanted to use this as just a way to kind of bring this up because I'm not the only person affected by this. I wanted to look and see really how much running is too much running. And I found this article, and this is done by marathonhandbook.com. And it was interesting, and there's a lot of aspects to it, but the one that I really wanted to hit on as my page reset, which it always did, they gave you these 14 warning signs that you're running too much. I actually found them kind of interesting. I was not aware of some of these. So these are 14 signs that you are running too much. And again, I think this can really count for everything, whether it be you're overtraining, you're over racing, which certainly sounds like that could be an issue coming up for me pretty soon. So I wanted to kind of see what these signs were. But if you experience any of these, and again, everyone's different, every situation is different. This is not gospel. This is simply what someone wrote and I found interesting. I'm going to share with you. But things to keep an eye on. Just keep an eye on them just in case you're overrunning. So how much running is too running? Here are 14 signs. Number one, you aren't hungry. Okay, I guess if you're running too much, you can affect your system. It affects your hunger. I certainly do not have that issue. I can guarantee you that is not a problem right now. I feel like I'm eating constantly right now. Also been doing a lot of running. So I think right now for me, fair balance. Y'all, if you're losing appetite, check and see if you maybe are overrunning. Number two, never would have thought of this. Low sex drive. Okay, makes sense. If you're overrunning, you just may not have the energy. Like honestly, you may not just have that drive, to perform in that manner, shall we say, because you're spending all your energy somewhere else. Number three, your performance is declining or plateauing despite training hard. Now, I think we've all done this before. We've all plateaued somewhere. And so if you're plateauing or even declining, even while upping, maybe you're running, but yet your times are going down or your distance is decreasing, you might be overdoing it. So it's definitely worth looking at. Again, if you have a running coach, consult your running coach. If you have a running plan, consult your plan. Maybe you're just getting a little too gung-ho with your miles and you need to dial it back a little bit. We've all been guilty of this. We've all thought, oh man, I've got this race coming up and I was late starting my training, so I'm going to overcram for it now. That doesn't always work. We're all guilty of it, but it doesn't always work. So just keep that in mind. You're unusually fatigued is number 4. That's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, that's definitely can be a problem. Number 5, you feel sluggish in workouts. Again, this can be overtraining. This also could be a lot of factors. I think feeling kind of sluggish could be your diet. Your diet could be a little off. It could be the weather. You could be affected by seasonal allergies. You could be affected by change in barometer. You could be affected by really change in season. If you're feeling sluggish and you've been training in cooler weather and now suddenly it's hot, okay, well, clearly that's not overtraining. That can be weather, man. Like it's hot outside. So cut yourself a break there. Just kind of know yourself, know your body. Next one, number 6, you're having a tough time sleeping. Okay. I can't speak to this because I'm not a good sleeper. Never have been. Even before I took up running, I'm not a good sleeper. I'm lucky for 6 hours a night. That's kind of what I live off of. 6 hours of sleep and a whole bunch of coffee. That's my world. But if you're a big time sleeper and then you're exercising on the regular and maybe you're overrunning and you're not sleeping and that's abnormal for you, take a look. Okay. Next up, number 7, you aren't feeling recovered before your next run. This one, sorry, I sniffed into my microphone here. This one, do we ever? This one, I don't know. This one, you're really gonna have to kind of look at yourself on this one, but you aren't feeling recovered before your next run. My dear friend who wrote this article, I haven't felt recovered in years. We as runners pride ourselves in our stubbornness and our ability of just get out there and get it done. Yeah, we're not always going to feel like $1,000,000 while we do it, but we do it because it's what we do. Take that one for what it's worth. Next one, let's see. You're irritable. Why do you think I'm irritable? I'm not irritable. Why would you say, okay, no. Now, if you're irritable, again, this goes along with it. This also can associate with the rest problems. So take a look at your rest, take a look at your overtraining, see where you're at. Number 9, this one is interesting. Your resting heart rate is elevated by 3 to 5 beats more than usual. So resting heart rate is not something I feel comfortable enough really diving into. Even despite all my heart issues in life, I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to talk about resting heart rate. Runners have a lower resting heart rate than is normal for the rest of the people. That much I do know. So take a look. If you are wearing a wearable device, kind of a thing that tracks your heart rate, if you suddenly see that patterns are changing, then it's worth looking into. We'll leave it at that. Leave it to your discretion. But that was something they list here. I find that kind of interesting. My resting heart rate is consistent when I'm resting, which isn't that much. Next one, you're getting sick frequently. Okay, this is a sign that your body is just being overused and can't fight things the way it's supposed to be fought because you're putting a lot of stress and strain on the body. This one, not new, not different. We're aware of this. But if you're getting sick more often, it could be overtraining. Next one, you're getting injured frequently. Yeah, overuse. Got it. After that, you have aches and pains. Okay, come on now. I'm 44 years old, y'all. I couldn't tell you the last time something didn't hurt. I'm of the age. Things hurt. So again, you're going to have to process this one yourself, know where you're at in your journey. I'm sure there are runners who run pain-free, and after they're done with the run, nothing ever hurts ever. I don't have a right knee anymore, and my hips hurt. And every time I stand up, I look like an old man. But I'll still be at the start line this weekend. So again, another one, know thyself. Next one, only 2 more left. You feel unmotivated or burnt out on training. Okay, that's a big one, and this is one we've definitely touched on before. You can get burned out on running. Okay, not everyone is the insane people that listen to this podcast who kind of live, breathe, and die running. That's not everyone. So a lot of people do get burnt out while they're running. And again, if you are starting to feel burned out, if you are dreading your training run or dreading a race, and again, we all live for race day. If you're like, I really don't want to go to that race, this hurts, or I'm tired, or I'm not sleeping well. Okay, we'll see, this kind of connects with all the things they're talking about. So be really careful. And we've done episodes before on burnout, so I'm not going to regurgitate all that. But burnout is a real thing. It absolutely happens. If you're starting to feel burnt out on running, or maybe you don't want to listen to this podcast anymore, and really, who could think that? I don't want to talk about running. I don't want to hear about the cool races. I don't want to talk about medals. I don't want to do training runs. I don't want to drive to the start line. If any of that is in your head, you're burned out. Take some time off. Just listen to the podcast. Don't do all the other stuff. I mean, no, just get away from the sport entirely for a minute. Whatever you need until you're feeling like, okay, I'm rested, I'm rejuvenated, I'm excited to go to the race again. So yeah, burnout, real thing. Take it seriously if you're starting to get it. Like no jokes there. All joking aside, burnout's real. Watch yourself there. Last one, if you're having a hard time focusing. Again, that goes along with everything else. Focus. It's a sign of burnout. It's a sign of overuse in your body, overuse in your mind. Running is also mentally taxing. We know this, okay? Running is mentally taxing. What do we say about full marathons? Yes, there is a big physical aspect of it. There's also, I would argue, a bigger mental aspect to a full marathon than there is physical. You have to know you're going to be out there for hours and hours and hours. You have to know there's going to be parts of that race, especially after half marathoners split off, where you are all by your damn self. And there may not be people cheering you on, and the crowd support may have dwindled, and you may be on a boring road, or the sun might be going down, or any number of things. The mental toll running can take is just as important as the physical toll. And again, that goes along with everything that we talked about, the burnout, the fatigue, the overuse, all that good stuff. You got to keep your mind right and you do it however you need to, listening to podcasts, talking to friends, researching races, coming up with your dream list, do the fun mental parts of this whole sport so that you can make it through the not so fun parts. The parts where you're running by yourself or you're doing a training run early in the morning and there's nobody up and you have to be out there by yourself. The rest of your family's still in bed sleeping. It's getting hot outside. And so you know you're going to have to be on the heat. Ugh, I hate the heat. Or, oh, it's going to be so cold. Whatever it is, really be mindful of the mental aspect of running and the mental part of overuse. Because every time you go out for a run, you got to use your head as much as you got to use your legs. So just be aware. It all is part and parcel. It's all one and the same. Okay. So that's the tips for overuse. The article was really good. There was a lot of there's longer parts to it. I didn't want to go through all of it, but it was a very interesting article on overuse. So look it up if you feel that you might be suffering from it. If you ever want to reach out to the podcast, if you ever have a question, we're just a message away. Kyle at botppod.com, or anytime you are on Facebook or Instagram, send a direct message. If you ever want to ask a question or need an opinion on something, or just need someone who is not afraid to run their mouth, haha, that's me, I'm happy to help. I'm very happy to do so. So one of the last things I wanted to show you guys this. If you're in the Kansas City area, a lot of you have seen this already. This magazine came out. This is My Health KC, and you can see this lady on the front here. She's in a red jogging suit. It's their February issue. I know it's still on the shelves. Got a heart right there, so it's about heart health stuff. Just wanted to show, once I get there, me. They did an article on me and my recovery after 2 open heart surgeries and running marathons after it. You can see here, I took a picture of this. This is what got their attention. I was at my cardiologist's office and he has this plastic display of the inside of a heart. I took my Boston Marathon medal and I wrapped it around that and took a picture and put it on Instagram. They saw it, and so that's what got their attention. So one page is a picture of me with the little captions, and then the article that they did, they interviewed me, they interviewed my cardiologist. And so a fun little thing. So if you see that around town, again, My Health KC, it's the February issue with the lady on the front running, but there's a nice piece on me. So if you ever wanted to hear more about my heart surgery journey and recovery, then it's in this. I just wanted to throw that out there. Good picture of me. Thank you, Memphis Marathon, for taking such a good picture that I could use for this. So that is going to do it for this week's episode. Next week, we're going to be back and we will break down everything from the Liberty Half Marathon. Hopefully, we will see you all out there. Remember, New York Marathon, you got 3 more days. Go ahead and get in there. Next week, we're just going to be breathless with anticipation while we're just waiting to see who made it and who didn't. Hopefully, we're all in. And then after that, we just continue on with the Heartland Series. 2 traveling races, again, South Carolina, Lincoln, Nebraska, and I guess really it's 3 because then Fargo, North Dakota. So that's where the podcast is going to be. If you're going to be at any of those, let us know. We'd love to meet you. Would love to talk to you about running or whatever you want to talk about. So that's going to be it. That will do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. It is my pleasure, as always. Please check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram are our biggest ones. You can listen to us anywhere that you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, now on Amazon. I just found out recently we weren't on Amazon. So now you can say, hey, Alexa, play the Back of the Pack podcast, and boom, we will come up, which is actually kind of cool. So we are now voice controlled, if you can believe all of that. And then everything you guys can do to help the podcast is great. And it all really comes down to interaction. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff on Facebook. And then reviews on the social media platforms, on the podcast platforms are always appreciated. Anything you guys can do to help spread the word, I greatly appreciate it. So that's going to do it. Everyone have a great week of training. We will see you Saturday at the Liberty Half, or we will see you Friday at the Liberty Half Expo. And here we go. Spring running season is about to come thundering in. Let's see how we do. We'll see you next week.